Most people think discipline is punishment. That belief alone is why their life feels out of control. In the first episode, we talked about emptiness, why life can feel heavy even when nothing appears wrong. Today, we talk about what keeps that emptiness alive, not lack of intelligence, not lack of opportunity, but the absence of discipline and the misunderstanding of what discipline actually is. Most people misunderstand discipline because they first encountered it in the wrong form. For many, discipline was introduced as punishment. Rules enforced without explanation. Restrictions imposed without understanding. Control applied from the outside, not built from within. So the mind learned a false lesson. That discipline is something done to you, not something you choose. This misunderstanding stays quietly embedded in adulthood. When people hear the word discipline, they do not think of clarity or stability. They think of pressure. They think of force. They think of a life with less freedom, less joy, and less ease. As a result, they resist it, often without realizing they are resisting the very thing they need. Instead, they choose comfort. Comfort feels kind. Comfort feels gentle. Comfort promises relief without effort. But comfort does not ask whether the choice strengthens you or weakens you. It only asks whether it feels good now. And that is where the misunderstanding deepens. People assume the opposite of discipline is freedom. They believe that avoiding structure means living freely. But observe what actually happens. When there are no inner limits, every desire becomes a command. Every emotion demands immediate response. Every discomfort feels urgent and unbearable. The human does not become free, they become reactive. They do not choose their actions consciously. They respond automatically to impulses, moods, and external triggers. Scrolling replaces thinking. Eating replaces feeling. Distraction replaces reflection. This is not freedom. It is quiet loss of control. True discipline is not about restriction. It is about direction. It is the ability to pause between impulse and action, to choose what aligns with your long-term well-being instead of what satisfies a short-term urge. But because discipline is often presented as something harsh, people never learn its true nature. They try to force themselves into extreme routines. They set unrealistic rules. They attempt sudden transformations. When they fail, and most do, they conclude that discipline is impossible for them. What they fail to see is that the problem was never discipline itself. It was the approach. Discipline does not grow from self-hatred. It grows from self-respect. A person who respects themselves does not need punishment. They need clarity. They understand that the mind needs structure the same way the body needs balance. Too much restriction breaks the spirit. Too much freedom dissolves it. Discipline exists in the middle. It is not about denying pleasure. It is about placing pleasure in its proper place. A disciplined person does not live a joyless life. They live a stable one. And stability is what allows joy to last. Without discipline, pleasure becomes addictive. With discipline, pleasure becomes meaningful. Another misunderstanding is believing discipline requires constant motivation. It does not. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation rises and falls. Discipline remains steady. That is why people who rely on motivation feel inconsistent, while people who rely on discipline feel grounded. Discipline does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" It asks, "Is this aligned with who I want to become?" When that question becomes familiar, discipline stops feeling like force and starts feeling like guidance. The final misunderstanding is believing discipline takes away identity. In truth, discipline reveals it. When a human learns to control their impulses, they discover what they truly value. When they stop reacting automatically, they begin acting intentionally. That is when life shifts from chaos to coherence. Discipline is not the enemy of the human spirit. It is the framework that protects it. And once this is understood, discipline no longer feels like a burden. It feels like relief. A human without discipline does not become relaxed. They become unstable. When there are no inner limits, every emotion demands attention. Every desire feels urgent. Every discomfort needs immediate relief. This creates a reactive life. Instead of choosing how to live, a person starts responding to moods, cravings, and circumstances. That is not freedom. That is dependency. REAL life examples for better understanding. A person plans to wake up early, but stays up late scrolling. Not because they chose it, but because impulse made the decision for them. Another person wants to improve their health, but repeatedly chooses short-term comfort over long-term stability. Each time this happens, something small is lost. Not motivation, but self-trust. And without self-trust, discipline feels impossible. Discipline is not about controlling life. It is about controlling the self. A human who cannot control themselves will always feel controlled by something else. Mood, desire, fear, comfort. True discipline is internal. It does not shout. It does not punish. It guides. There was a man who believed he was lazy. Not because he lacked dreams, he had many. He wanted a better body, a clearer mind, a life that felt under control. He chose one small rule. When the alarm rang, he would sit up. Not exercise, not plan the day, just sit up. The first day felt pointless. The second felt uncomfortable. The third felt intentional. After a week, something changed. Not his body, not his schedule, but his self-respect. He realized discipline was never about doing everything right. It was about proving quietly that he could keep one promise. That single act became a foundation. Months later, his life was not perfect, but it was steady. And for the first time, he felt in control of himself. That was enough to keep going. Why discipline feels painful at first? Discipline feels painful because it exposes dependency. When the mind is used to comfort, restraint feels like loss. But what feels like loss is actually withdrawal from impulse. The discomfort is temporary. The stability is permanent. The first rule of discipline. Discipline is not built through extremes. It is built through small, repeatable restraint. Not radical change, not harsh routines, but simple consistency. A human does not regain control by doing everything right, but by doing one small thing deliberately. Practical step, very important. Discipline does not begin with changing your entire life. It begins with restoring trust between you and yourself. Most people fail because they ask too much, too fast. They demand transformation instead of consistency. When they fail, they feel weak, not realizing the request itself was unreasonable. The mind does not learn through pressure. It learns through proof. Choose one small action you can repeat daily without resistance. Not impressive, not dramatic. Simple enough that excuses feel unnecessary. This action is not about productivity. It is about authority. When you complete a small, deliberate act, you send a message to the mind. I decide. I follow. This message is powerful. It teaches the nervous system safety. It reduces inner conflict. It stabilizes emotion. Avoid choosing something that depends on motivation. Choose something that depends only on decision. For example, standing up when the alarm rings, completing one task, fully pausing before reacting. Do it calmly, without reward, without punishment. Consistency builds identity, and identity is what makes discipline natural. Start small, stay steady. Let trust rebuild quietly. Discipline is not the enemy of a good life. It is the structure that makes a good life possible. Without discipline, freedom collapses into chaos. With discipline, life becomes steady. This was Manual for Life. This was episode 2. In the next episode, we will talk about emotions and why most humans are controlled by them without realizing it. The manual continues.